Welcome back to my channel, guys. Today I'm going to be showing you how I did this structured sleeve on this dress. Let's get started. So you'll need your tape measure, you'll need your scissors, you'll also need, of course, your horsehair. I use 2-inch. You can use whatever size you have. I'm going to show you how to put it together. And of course you'll need your fabric. I will change that later, but get your fabric. And also your pattern for how long you want your piece to be. So if you want it to go from the waist in the front to the waist in the back, make sure you get that measurement. And you want to add at least 3 to 4 inches onto that because as you will see when I start to sew, it does get a little bit longer. Even though you try not to stretch the horsehair, it still sometimes stretches out. So cutting it a bit longer than what you need will help make sure that your piece fits perfectly on your fabric. So you want to make sure that you also do the width of your piece plus about I'll say about 2 inches, because you're going to be overlapping those pieces by 1/4 inch once we get to the sewing machine. So I'm just doing this for a little tutorial. So I did about 21-inch pieces. I think I'm going to cut about 4 of them out, and then we're going to go to the sewing machine and sew them up. All right, guys, we are at our sewing machine sewing, and now you will see me take 2 of the pieces, and I'm going to overlap them about half an inch. So when I sew it, one of the pieces is sitting right on my 1/4 inch line, and then it's the exact width of my presser foot. So I'm going to sew all the way down. Again, try not to stretch it, but I know it's horsehair, so it might stretch. You want to sew at your own pace, at your own speed. And you're going to see me do all 4 of the pieces put together. So for however wide your horsehair is and however wide your piece is, you want to just make sure you get as many pieces as you need and sew them together like this. I'm back, and you guys see how I'm coming up on this 3rd piece here, and even though I cut them all to the same length, it's still a little bit longer. That's why I said to cut your pieces at least 3 to 4 inches longer than you need it, so that you can make sure that your horsehair piece fits easily into your pattern piece, and you can always trim it once you get to that point. All right, and now I have my 2 little pieces. These are just my tester pieces. You see I changed the fabric because I got some scraps from something I was already working on. And so I'm going to take one of these and place it on top of my horsehair piece so that I can trim it down at that curve where I need it to be, so that it matches up with that piece. And I'm just lining that up, and then I'm gonna cut that piece out. And then you want to then take your two pieces, your lining piece, and put that together, and then top stitch down your lining, I'm sorry, your seam allowance on the inside, so that it doesn't roll over or get caught in your horsehair. And right here, you can see that I have sewn my pieces together and top stitched that seam allowance down so that it doesn't get caught in my horsehair. Now you can take a piece of whatever fabric you're using and just cover up that edge of the horsehair so that it doesn't poke through the fabric. And y'all see me struggling right here to get that piece of horsehair in there. And in a second, you're gonna see me open it up kinda and lay it right on top of that seam allowance, and then pin it down so that that fabric doesn't move. So here I am opening it up, and I'm gonna put it right on that seam allowance and then close it back up, sandwich it in there, and then I'm going to pin it and continue down so that that fabric don't keep moving on me. Okay. And yep, pinning that down and stuffing that in there so that it lines up properly and it's not all bulky in there. That's why I top stitched that seam allowance down, so we wouldn't have to worry about that on this part right here. So I'm just putting all my pins in all the way down, and then we'll move on to the next step. So now we're just finishing up that pinning, and now that I got that done, I've grabbed my scissors because I'm going to flip that top piece of fabric out the way, and I'm going to cut about to where I have about a 1/2 inch seam allowance inside of those two pieces. So whatever your seam allowance is, if you're doing a 1/4 inch, you want to cut off that horsehair piece so that you have that 1/4 inch, just so that that horsehair is not in your seams, because it is pokey and it'll poke people and it's very itchy. So and then I'm gonna just sew within that 1/2 inch seam allowance that I just cut off to enclose that horsehair, and I'm also gonna stitch up the ends. So now you see I've closed off that piece right there, and that will get sewn into our seam, and then I've closed up the bottom and the top piece so that that can get sewn into the front or the back of your piece. And as you can see, once you put it on a shoulder, it will stand up for you. You can double up the pieces so that it's even more stiff, so that you have more of a structure. But that is how you do it. Thank you so much for watching my channel. Like and subscribe for more.